In this chapter 4, I will discuss data validation with parser. So if I go to my app document in this users and in this post API, try it out. Before this, let me go to get request, get all users, try it out, execute. Let me copy this data, Control C in this post request. Let me paste it here. You can see here this is the email, right? It follows the email pattern, that means name@gmail.com. But what if I add just name? I can add anything. Suppose I fill this email, and what happens if I click on this execute button? Let's see. If I click on this execute button, the employee is created. This is not the email, right? There is no any validation. Now suppose if I remove one field, suppose let me remove this role field, and if I click on execute, I'm getting this internal server error, but I don't know what is the actual reason beside this, because the error message is not proper. If I get error message like this field is missing, something like that, it will be more appropriate, right? I have already added one validation expect, right, to validate the input, but that is not enough. I need to add more validation, like I need to add validation for some of the field. I have already give example on this email field, and if some field is missing, then I am not getting the proper error message, so validation is required. So here very quickly I would like to create one folder, validation. Let me write parser.py. Okay, here very quickly from Flask Backend, I'm going to implement validation. Import requires parse. Now I'm going to define the parser for employee fields. So this is my user parser. I can write request parse dot request parser, okay, and here this is for my name field, and this is of type string, right? This field is required, name is required, so I have to write required equals true. I can write here help message, name is required. I can copy this. This is for my email field. This is for department, designation, contact, role, Control C, Control V, and this is for manager ID. So user contains these fields. Now I can write here email is required, department is required. This is very simple message. Designation is required, contact is required, role is required, manager ID is required. As simple as this. Now I'd like to define the parser for leave request. So this is employee parser. Just like as above, I can write request parser dot request parser. Add argument, status. Its type is also string. Required is true, and help text. Leave status is required. Let me copy this, Control V, Control V, Control V. Okay, this is for type. duration from duration to region, right? In this help text, type of leave is required, you can write here start date of leave is required, in date of leave is required. In the same way, reason for leave is required. Okay, this is my parser. This is for user parser and this is for employee leave parser. Now in this user routes, I can import that user parser. From validation.parser, I can import user parser. And in my post request here, now instead of this code, I can directly use parser because in my parser I have already defined what fields are required. So I can remove this code. Let me write comment here. Parse and validate request data. Okay. Args equals user parser dot parse args. Through this I will get every fields of user, and then I can write user data equals key value for key comma value in args.items. If value is not known. Okay, now I don't need to write all the fields here because I have already defined my every fields in this user parser, and with this line I will get my user data. Now I have to create this user data, so I can write a new user equals to my user model and then this user data. As simple as this. Now the code is more refactored. Control yes. Now if I go to my API document, and here in my post request you can see here role is missing. Now if I execute this, see I get the appropriate message, role is required. Initially it was coming internal server error, but now I am getting the proper error message. And also I am getting here input payload validation failed, so I am getting the proper error message with user parser. Similarly in the put request also I can remove this code. Just like as above, I can write args equals user parser dot parse argument for data equals key value for key comma value in args dot items if value is not known. And here let me rename this to user detail. I can write user detail dot update this updated data in the structure format. Okay, I have implemented my user parser in this put request also. Now if I go to my API document, let me copy this in my put request, try it out, and again the role field is missing here for user ID 1. If I execute this, I will get the proper error message. In the same way for employee leave roles, I am going to import employee leave parser. So from validation.parser I am going to import employee leave parser. And in this post request And again here parse and validate request data, args equals employee leave parser dot parse args, leave data equals key value for key comma value in args dot items if value is not known. So this is my leave data. Now I have to create it. So I can write leave info equals employee leave is my model, right? And here I can pass employee ID, and apart from that I will get my data from this leave data. Employee ID is not mentioning in the parser, so I have to write it here, and also I'm going to destructure it. I have to pass double asterisk and it will save my leave data. Okay, this is it. Now again, if I go to my API document, in my if I go to employee leave request routes, this is for users, this is for employee. Let me first hit this get request for user 1. Okay, I'm going to copy this in this post request, try it out. Now if region is missing, and if I click on this is for user ID 1, if I click on this execute, I have to remove this comma, execute. Okay, region for leave is required, so I'm getting again proper error message. Now I would like to add validation for this email field. In this users there is email, I would like to add validation for this email field. So here in this validation I'm going to create one file validator.py. I would like to import regular expression and my function name is validate email. Will take that value. It will check if the value is a validated email or not. So I can write here pattern equals this regular expression will identify if the provided value is correct email or not. So it will validate my email field. You can see here I have to provide some name at the rate, some name again, dot, something like this. So this is the regular expression to validate my email field. So I can write now if not match, if not re.match, if my value doesn't match to this pattern, I have to raise some value error. Value error, I can write invalid email format. I can return value. Okay, this is it. Now in my parser here I'm going to import that validator. From dot validator I'm going to import validate email, and this is my email field. I have to pass here in this type, I have to call my validate email. Okay, this is it. Control yes, and in my API document now if I try it out, if I send this request, this is not a valid email, right? Now if I let me give role also here. Role is suppose user. Okay, now if I click on execute, see email is required, this is invalid email format. If I provide correct email format, john@something.com, and if I click on execute, Now the response is 200. It is success message. So I have to provide now correct email. Also I can provide validation for this contact field. Right now if you see here, this is it is taking number also, and it is taking character also. I can validate something like the length of contact should be 10 and it should only accept a digit. So I can add validation in this contact field also. And for this, again in this validator, def validate contact, I have to provide value, that means my contact number. If not value dot each digit, so it will check inside my string I should have only this number. If I provide some character, then it will definitely fail. And then it will give me value error. So I have to write res value error, contact must contain only digits. And also I have to check the length of contact. If length of value is not equal to 10, again I can raise value error. Contact must be exactly 10 digits. I can return value, and in this parser I can import that validate contact, and in this contact I can pass here validate contact, control yes. And now so this is not a correct contact field because this is not a digit. So if I execute this, so I'm getting this message, contact is required, contact must contain only digits. This is the help text and this is my error message. And now if I provide only digit but the length is not 10, if I click on execute, see contact must be exactly 10 digits. So the validation is error in this contact field also. Now I would like to add validation for my employee leave request. If I go to this employee and there are status and type, I would like to add validation in this field. I would like to add like in status only pending, approved or declined is only allowed. I am not allowed to enter random value. So I am going to create one constant file here, .py, define allowed values. In this leave status, only three values are allowed. First one is approved, pending, and rejected. And in this leave types, sick is allowed, annual leave is allowed, compensatory leave is allowed, and the last one is leave without pay. Now in this validator, I am going to import from constants. I am going to import a leave statuses and leave types. If validate status, there is value. If value not in leave statuses, I have to raise value error. I can write status must be one of these value. Status must be one of. I can write here leave statuses. Okay. Return value. So this is for status, and again I can write validate leave. If value not in leave types, Again, I'm going to raise value error. Type must be one of lib types. Okay, this is it. In this parser, I'm going to import validate lib type, validate status, and in this lib request, in this type, I can write validate lib type, and in this status, I can write validate status. Okay, control yes. In this API document, let me provide reason here. If you see here, this is not a valid status, so if I click on execute button, see, status must be one of pending, rejected or approved. And suppose if I provide correct status, pending, and if the type is wrong, if I provide some random value and if I click on execute, I can see type must be one of annual, compensatory, leave without pay and sick. So I have to provide correct type. If I write here sick and if I click on execute, oh, there is again internal server error. If I look here, ITMS, okay, it should be items. In this employee leave rules, I have to write here items, control yes, type is correct, status is correct, all are allowed values. So if I click on execute, okay, again if I go here, okay, type is coming none, but I have provided here type sick. If I go to my parser, type is validated leave type, that is fine. In my validator, okay, here I have to return this value, control yes, and now if I click on execute, okay, because I have provided allowed status and type, so it is working. I'm able to send the request. Now I would like to add validation for this department and designation. If you see here, in this user request, I would like to add validation for this department and designation. I am not allowed to enter any value here, and based on this department I have to select this designation. That means this designation is dependent to this department. So in this constants file, I'm going to paste some value for department and designation. I'm going to paste allowed values, control V. So these all are the value for department and designation. So if I select department engineering, then these values are allowed in designation. If I select department IT operation, only these designations are allowed. So I will add validation in this department and designation, and only the department that is defined here is only allowed. You will get this constant value from the code I have provided, the link in the video description. And now in this validator pipe, def validate department, it will take value. First of all, I have to import that department and designation. And before this, what more I can do is in this constant pipe, so this is the allowed department and designation. I can format this department and designation in different way, like my engineering will be key and this is my value. If I format this value, then it will be more easy for me to query or for me to map this value. So if I can write here department designation map. I would like to map like this will be my key and this will be my value, this will be my another key and this will be my another value. So here I'm going to write for item in department and designations. Okay, I'm going to map item department, this is my key, and item designations is my value. Control yes. Now it will be easy for me to validate designation based on department. So in this validator py, instead of this department and designation, I'm going to import department designation map. And here, if value not in department designation map, means if this value is not in my key, then I can raise value error. Invalid department. I can return value. And to validate designation, this designation is based on department, so I have to pass department also. Designation, if designation not in department designation map, in this department I can return none. So this is different than above validation, so I can return none, and here I can return designation. So if designation don't match to the value of this specific department, I have to return none, else I have to return designation. Now in this parser, I have to import just department, and in this department, where it is, okay, here I can write validate department. For designation, if the designation is based on department, so I can't directly write here validate designation. I have to handle this in my roots. So in my user roots, I have to import validate designation. From validation.validator, I have to import validate designation. And in this post request, here I can write comment validate designation equals, this function will require both designation and department. I will get from argument, I can pass a department, I can pass designation as my parameter. If not designation, if designation doesn't match, I can stop my execution. I have to import abort first. 100 bad request. I can write invalid designation. I can copy this, and in this put request also I can validate the designation. Okay, this is it. Now let me go to my API document, and here if I write here user USR, if you see in this constant file, USR is not a valid department. There is no user in this department key field. So if I click on execute, it will say invalid department. Now this engineering is valid department. Engineering is allowed, but instead of selecting designation from here, if I select designation from here, Ctrl C, and if I paste it here, Ctrl V, execute, it will say, okay, it is coming from contact field. Let me put it here, let me make it 10. And now if I click on execute, see invalid designation. So this designation is not allowed for this department. If I select this value, now it should be valid. So if I go to this designation, Control V, and if I click execute, now it is valid. So I have added validation for this email field, for this contact field, for this department, for this designation, leave type, leave status, and I have added validation with the help of parser, and also I have created my own validation. Okay, this is for validation. Now in the next chapter, I will be implementing login and sign up.